Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to episode 110 of the Falcoholic Live. I am, of course, your host, Kevin Knight at Falcoholic. Kevin on Twitter, joined by a full house of co-hosts and guests this evening. Returning to the show this evening is former Falcons guard Keenan Forney. He's at KForney65 on Twitter. Keenan, how are you doing tonight?
Good, man. Thanks for having me back, guys. I couldn't wait. Thank y'all.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a ton of fun last week. We were super excited to have Keenan back on, so we're looking forward to talking with him some more about training camp. Also with us tonight, Mr. Evan Birchfield. You know him as the very easy to remember, at Evan Birchfield on Twitter. Evan, how are you tonight?
I'm good. I'm just glad to talk football with all you guys, and obviously having Keenan back, now officially a friend of the show. So hopefully there'll be more episodes into whatever season we have. He'll come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Also with us tonight, Eric Robinson at Eric_Robinson. Eric, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm doing pretty good. We get a chance to talk some football, and hopefully we can stay on this course because football season will be here before you know it. So.
Yep. I'm hopeful, but we'll see how it goes. But so far, so good. So
I think we'll get something. It
Yeah.
may not be the full slate, but I think we'll get something.
Mm-hmm. And finally, last but not least, Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way. Adnan, how are you this fine evening?
I'm doing very well. It's August already, and I agree with Eric. As Falcons fans, we're used to getting our hopes up, getting something, and then just being crushed eventually. So, that'll be on brand.
Extremely on brand. I'm sure the Falcons will look absolutely fantastic, and then the season will end, and then we'll just never know what could have been. But
we'll be like 6-0, and then they'll be like, all right, we're shutting it down for COVID.
Yep. No regular season champion, no Super Bowl. It's just over. Yeah.
Yeah, we won't even be able to get that. 6-0, the only undefeated team. They're still not going to give us a Super Bowl for that. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Tyler Raines, frequent commentator, frequent listener of the show, saying, "Man, I miss being on that hill and flowery branch." Man, we all do. I was really hoping to get to go to camp this year, like I did last year, and cover and shoot some videos and stuff like that. But obviously, with COVID, it's not really open to the public, so that's disappointing. But for safety reasons, it makes a lot of sense. But we're all missing that training camp atmosphere and the constant reports that we would normally be getting at this time of year. But we're gonna make do with what we got.
I think, wouldn't it be like preseason time right about now? Wouldn't we be covering Kurt Benkert in the preseason?
The simulator, yeah.
Hall of Fame game is usually first week in August, right?
Yeah,
it would be this weekend, I think.
Yeah.
They would have been like Hall of Fame, I think.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah, could have been. So that would be cool.
They pushed that back to next week too.
Right.
Or
yeah.
Next year,
So I remember Kevin and I doing the Hall of Fame game last year.
Oh yeah.
I never in my life thought I would be tuning into the fourth quarter of a Hall of Fame game. God, that was a rough
They made
night.
us do that. Yeah.
That was some terrible football.
hey, you take what you can get that first week.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. It's like food to a starving man. Yeah. Yeah. It was fun. Kurt Benkert was really doing a great job, and unfortunately, that's when he had his season-ending foot injury, and we didn't get to see him again. But that part of the game with Benkert in was very exciting, and then it quickly.
Yeah, he was slinging it.
Yeah, and then quickly it became less exciting after he got hurt. But unfortunately, no preseason this year, so we won't really get to see much of these players at all until the regular season. We're hoping for some, more detailed reports. Thus far, it's been extremely spotty, but on-field work I think has been pretty limited at this point. So, not really much to go on there. But we do have, some news for you. Obviously, a big signing. There's been some roster shuffling. There's been some players put on the COVID list and some players taken off the COVID list. So it's been a little bit of a busy, 2 weeks since the last show. So we got plenty to get into tonight. Also, of course, we'll take your questions throughout the show. So if you have anything you want to ask us or Keenan, feel free to throw that in the chat, and we will try to get to as many of those as we can. So let's kick it off with some the big news, big ticket item, which was the signing of cornerback Darqueze Dennard, a player who has played both inside and outside at cornerback. Has played his best football in the slot, and this past season was actually his best year, where I think he graded out as a top 15 cornerback as a slot guy. And what we've heard so far is that Dennard will man the slot role for the Falcons, so that has, obviously some implications for Kendall Sheffield or whoever else might have been competing for that the slot role. So I'll open up the floor to whoever wants to take the first shot at this signing. I know this is actually a player I think we brought up on the show, maybe even two weeks ago. It makes a lot of sense, but Eric, you look like you're itching here, so I'll let you take the first crack at it.
To be honest with you, it's one of the best acquisitions that they had this entire offseason. Dennard is not a superstar. He's not going to make headlines. He's not going to be the fastest corner in the league. He's not going to be he's not going to be the loudest cornerback on the field. He's not going to do any of that. He's going to come in. He's going to do his job. He's going to go home. And he's one of the solid slot corners in the entire NFL. He doesn't have a ton of numbers as far as interceptions go. He only has 3 in his 6 years in the league, but he makes up for that with being so technically sound as a cornerback to the point where he really doesn't have a ton of interceptions because he doesn't get targeted a whole lot. So I'm excited about it. I think his presence on the field makes the Falcons' defense as a whole better, let alone the secondary, the defense as a whole. Because you got to think about it now, man. It's 2020, so you're starting to see the likes of Mike Evans, Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, all these guys, Adam Thielen, all these big receivers are now lining up in the slot a whole lot more. So you need a position, and that's what Dennard brings for the Falcons.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there. That slot role has become so important in today's NFL where 11 personnel is basically the default. And, you just can't – it used to be you could hide one of your corners in the slot, and it was kind of an afterthought, like, oh, we'll put an undrafted guy there, we'll put a late-round pick there. But now it's a premier defensive position, and the Falcons were just – they had a ton of youth. And that's not always a bad thing, obviously, but they had, a first-round pick on one side, which if you're going to play a rookie, rookie first-round pick, probably the best-case scenario there. They have Isaiah Oliver on the other side, who has had some years of experience, struggled a bit last year, but finished strong. And then we were also having another second-year player in Kendall Sheffield, who was slated to be the slot. So there's a ton of youth there. And the only real veteran presence that's reliable was Bleedy Ray Wilson, who I think we all like. But
and it's easy to look at it and say that his presence creates a logjam, but I'm a little optimistic about it. I think in the league where you're seeing way more dime packages now than you've seen ever, you need that. And I think this brings out the versatility of the defense. That's what, from the line of scrimmage to the back end, this whole defense is built on being able to take personnel and put them in certain places where they could prosper. Yeah, and I think that's what Dennard helps them do. I
agree. Keenan, do you have any thoughts on this signing?
I think it's a solid signing, really because, you're starting, like how you said, you get a lot of 11 personnel, out there from the offense, and also too because you're seeing a lot of the NFL teams. They're starting to, well, not starting to, but college copies NFL, NFL copies college. So you got your main 2 guys on the outside. So a lot of times you got to have that slot guy, but also too, I like it because it provides depth. I think they're thinking about putting AJ Terrell out there to start. I don't think it would probably be a bad idea to have him to learn that slot just a little bit, let him get used to it a little bit, get his confidence up while Dennard plays, the number 2, because I'm assuming Isaiah Oliver is going to be our number 1 corner. I wouldn't mind seeing AJ play, the slot for a little bit and then possibly move him into that corner role just a little bit, as he gets his confidence up a little bit, That's not to say that he doesn't have any confidence, but, to kind of gradually bring him along as the season goes with that.
Spoon feed him a little bit.
Yeah, spoon feed him a little bit, exactly. But also, too, have everybody to learn all the jobs, so just in case you got to make something happen in the game, somebody gets hurt, hey, it's no big drop-off. Because trust me, if somebody gets hurt out there and now you got a new corner out there, guess where the quarterback and the offensive coordinator are going to?
Right.
They going to that new guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely right. And the depth, just the boost to the depth is huge. Even if Dennard wasn't going to be a starter, which he almost certainly will be, I mean, just having him as the next man up if somebody got hurt. I mean, corners are going to get hurt. It's one of those positions. There's so many guys on the field that at some point someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to have to step out there, and having that reliable depth is really important.
Yeah. You can never have enough. You can never have enough good DBs, enough good quality DBs out there. You know, you can never have enough, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Adnan, did you have any takes on the signing?
Yeah, going into this signing, I think it would be safe to assume that Atlanta's cornerback positioning group was probably the weakest on the defense. I think that would be fair to say.
Yeah.
You have a rookie in AJ Terrell. You have Isaiah Oliver, who has shown some flashes, but who hasn't really put it all together. And then you have Kendall Sheffield, who had a solid first season in the NFL. Showed some flashes as well, but was nothing spectacular. And then Bleedy Ray Wilson, who's solid veteran depth. But I mean, that's it. This cornerback group desperately needed a shot in the arm, such as what Dennard is. And I agree with you, Kevin. The fact that you bring him in, and if he's almost surely going to start, that pushes everyone else down a little bit, and that just enhances your depth. And like you guys said, cornerbacks, it's not a given that they're going to stay healthy the entire season. And I mean, this group is still a question mark for me, just because of how young and inexperienced they are. I mean, we're hoping that they can all put it together and that they can really, really be formidable this season. That would take the Falcons defense to a new level. But yeah, this is a great signing, and I have to think if Dimitroff and Dan Quinn weren't on a bit of a hot seat this season, would a signing like this have been made this late into the offseason?
Nope.
We have seen in the past that they're extraordinarily willing to roll the dice with their guys.
Not at all.
And that level of confidence is not always bad, but it also leaves very little room for error. So
wouldn't have signed anybody. They wouldn't even thought about signing anybody. This is to me, this is a sign of an organization with a head coach and a GM they know like it's do or die.
The last big free agent whom I can remember who was signed really after, and it wasn't even in August, it was Dontari Poe in 2017.
Right.
And that's the last one that was signed like after like all of the waves in free agency. But this doesn't feel the same. That felt targeted, where Dontari Poe was a free agent, and they were putting some cash together to bring him in to really like enhance the defense. This feels like something where they know that this group is a big weakness for them. So, and they know that they're trying to cover their bases so that the cornerback group doesn't lose them games this year, and in turn possibly lose them their jobs.
Look at everybody that they brought in this offseason. Everybody. I mean, it tells, this is like I said, a head coach and a GM, they have a chip on their shoulder. So they brought in players that have a chip on their shoulder. Gurley has one. Deion Buchanan has one. Deion Buchanan's on his third team in the past year. Charles Harris has one, former first-round pick who may be on his last team. He may be on his way out of the league if he doesn't get his act together.
Laquan Treadwell. They signed players that represents their mindset, their standpoint. Like, look, man, we may be on our last leg, so let's get some guys
all
in
of them. Like all of them were first-round picks.
Right.
Pretty much everybody we brought in.
First-round picks, but even guys in the draft that's seasoned veterans, that's senior captains. Like they brought it. They didn't bring in projects. We've known them to bring in projects.
I mean, even if you go to the bottom, I've been looking more at like undrafted free agents. Even like the guys who like Austin Edwards, he's a defensive end. Like they weren't just nobodies. Like he won the Gene Upshaw Award this last season and stuff. Like they weren't just like projects or whatever. At their level, they were top dog, basically.
Pinkney, the tight end out of Vanderbilt. He has 3 years starting experience in the SEC. And then bringing in a guy like Hayden Hurst, who also has a chip on his shoulder. He got something to prove. Man, this team, they're trying to put everything together, and they trying to win this year, man. They trying to go. They trying to make a run, and I love it. I feel much better about this team now than I did this time last year.
Yeah.
I'd rather have some people, with a chip on their shoulder than some guys that are comfortable.
Right.
You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah. Nobody should
Well,
be
I mean,
comfortable
and
this
we-
year. Yeah.
Nothing against Vic Beasley, but we see who they get rid of, and he's not even showed up to his new team yet.
No, Evan. No.
We're not even going to talk about that, right?
Man.
Yeah. I'm legitimately
still
like
hasn't shown up yet?
no. I'm like I'm legitimately like concerned about Beasley.
Still-
like I don't know what's
still
going on.
hasn't
There.
Well, they
shown
said
up.
they talked to him.
Still hasn't communicated. I'm not concerned because if there was something really up with him, it would have came out by now. Did someone they at the very least got a hold of maybe his agent or someone in his circle, and it's been confirmed like, yeah, he's just at home.
Yeah, I
It's
think the
fine.
GM said he spoke with him.
Yeah, but no, there's no room for remorse when it comes to something like this.
Hey, y'all, bet money right now. He's probably trying to weigh if he wants to still keep playing right now.
He's got till
And
tomorrow,
Absolutely.
I think.
Yeah, they're trying
Absolutely.
to, they're trying to give him a little bit of space and try not to, put it out in the press. But I don't know. Maybe it's
Absolutely.
maybe it's the COVID. He's trying to figure out if he's going to opt out, or maybe he's like, man, do I want to keep going or not?
I don't think this has. I think this is simply a player that doesn't love football, and he doesn't love the craft that it takes to be a football player. He doesn't love it. He doesn't love the sport. He just likes getting paid, basically.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Even if I didn't love football, I'd still show up for $9 million.
You think that could be motivating, if nothing else, right?
Oh man, hey, you might have to go on ahead and suck it up and go out and get that
Hey, bro, it's only
you
one
can-
season. It's only one season. I'd be there day one with my pads on.
And
Yeah,
it
I'm
might not
there.
even be a full season.
Right, you might show up for a few games and get your money.
Keenan can attest for this, man. You know how teams they give out workout bonuses. They give up bonuses just for you to show up at the facilities. This guy don't want to do nothing.
Yeah.
Man, dang, hey, so he was getting $9 million.
Oh yeah, this was not
It's
like a
like-
little
yeah.
vet min deal or something.
$9 million.
We need him to show up
Hey,
too.
that one year set you up for life.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
It really.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
man.
I mean, in fairness, last year set him up for life too. He made like 14.
Oh yeah.
13.
He did. Yeah.
Man,
But
I hate that for Vic because he was one of my favorite players when he first got here. He had the one breakout year where he was the sack leader, and then all of a sudden it just kept dipping. I was sitting there always wondering, like, did he have like some kind of injury that was kind of knocking him off his game a little bit to where maybe he couldn't train like how he wanted to in the off season, and that might have been taken away from his effectiveness out there. But
Nope.
man, I hate that.
Last offseason told me everything I need to know about Vic Beasley. That
was kind of messed up, right?
He had an opportunity to go to a pass rushing summit with Von Miller, Aaron Donald, his teammate Grady Jarrett, all the best pass rushers in the league. He had an opportunity to do that, but he decided to play charity basketball instead. And not only that, but he was supposed to show up to workouts to work with Dan Quinn, and he stood Dan Quinn up.
yeah, he was
I
supposed to.
remember Dan talking about he couldn't wait to get his hands on him. I remember
Didn't show
that.
up to
That
OTAs.
tells me everything. That boy he doesn't want to play.
Yeah.
But you already know Dan Quinn went to bat for him to pick up that 50-year option.
I know. So that's
he went to bat for him.
exactly. And then how are you gonna do your coach like that when he stands up for you and then you burn him like that?
You were his very first draft pick.
Yeah.
Man.
It's rough.
His
Man.
very first.
Hey, and in the meetings, you know what I'm saying? They were probably talking to Dan like, hey, look here, if we keep him, we got to drop him this 15. And so Dan probably he put his nuts on the table for him.
He
Definitely.
did. Yep, he got smashed, unfortunately. So.
Oh, man.
What
You know what? I hope that it's not something mentally where he's like, dealing with like some mental health issues. I hope it's nothing like that. I hope that, if it's something to do, if he's trying to figure out, does he still want to play or is it the COVID? I could probably deal with that, but I hope it's not the latter.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, obviously, we want Vic to be successful. We want him to, even though he's not a Falcon anymore, I want him to be successful. I want him to go out and get that money. Obviously, every player should go get their money, and just be a fun player to watch. I mean, the Titans,
right?
And
also too, let's not forget he helped us get to a Super Bowl.
He did. Yeah.
I mean, let's remember the good times. I know it sucked right now, but
Hey, we need him to play for that 5th-round comp pick, okay? So you better show him.
Yeah.
Hey, we need
That's what I'm
5th-round
looking
pick.
at right now.
And plus he went to a scheme that probably fits him a little bit better.
Yeah. They have their rushers stand up basically full time in Tennessee, so that might be a better overall fit for him too. Anybody else got final takes on Dennard before we move on here?
Nah, I just they're going to be fine there at the cornerback
Yeah,
spot.
it makes me feel a lot better. It makes me feel a lot better. Just because
He has the tools. I'm sorry to cut you off,
Yeah,
Jordan,
no,
but
it's
this
okay.
is a former Jim Thorpe winner, 2013 consensus All-American in college football. Like, he has the tools to be a successful corner in the NFL. And like you said, last year was his best year. Like, as per PFF, he only played 9 games. Hopefully, he'll be healthy. But yeah, no, like.
Yep.
He's good. Like, he's fine. This is a very good signing. I'm here for it.
Yeah, and he might just be a late bloomer. I mean, sometimes that happens. Like he was never a bad corner. He just never really lived up to the expectations, like you said, with all those accolades and being a 1st-round pick. But sometimes guys just take a little bit longer to get comfortable in the NFL. So that's always a possibility.
Hey, and also too, let's look at where he's coming from too. Not everybody's trying to, beat down the door to get to play for the Bengals. They kind of,
Yeah.
the Bengals, they got a lot of dysfunction going on up there. And I've heard of guys who I know when they go up there, man, they just, man, it's different. Let's just say that.
Yeah. I mean, I believe it because that team has, hopefully they're going in a better direction now with Joe Burrow. I mean, that's obviously an exciting pick, that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, I think it's been kind of a very quiet secret that Cincinnati has been a pretty rough place to play as of late. And that defense, like the fact that he was able to put up a top 15 season as a corner on that defense last year, which was among the NFL's worst. I mean, that's really a pretty impressive accolade to be able to say that. So,
I mean, this is an organization which kept Marvin Lewis around for like 100 years just because they were cheap.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
say that again. Hey, they are cheap.
They are
That's
cheap.
They're cheap now.
This is like the only team I can think of that like consistently doesn't spend at the salary cap. Like they just like, oh no, we have like 40 million in space. No, I'm good.
Hey, what was that? What was that
also...
like? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Evan.
No. Go ahead.
No, I was fixing to say, do y'all remember a few years ago, what was that on Hard Knocks training camp? I think the tight end, Reggie Kelly, who's a former Falcon, he got hurt. And so they were sitting in a meeting room trying to figure out who's going to be, who they could get to play tight end since Reggie got hurt. And I think I heard, I forget who it was, but somebody, it might have been the owner or somebody in there, they were talking about, hey, well, why not move this defensive end to play tight end? And I was just like, what?
We can't possibly sign someone. I mean,
Yeah, like I was like, okay, all right, man. They still doing some BS up in
Sounds like Paul Brown.
Oh yeah. Okay, I think
let's take this tight end. Let's take this defense end and make him a tight end.
we could spend $3
Well, we
million
did.
to get.
We did have. Remember that time? I think it was Toy Lolo played right tackle
God.
for us in a pinch.
I mean, in fairness, that's because I think that was the Vikings game
Yes,
against
that
Teddy
was.
Bridgewater.
Yeah, we had
And I think
injuries, but it was still
yeah.
something.
that's
Hey,
where like
it's in
3
the
or 4
pinch.
of them dropped like flies.
Mhm.
That was one of the.
Hey, it's in the pinch in the game. I'm talking about they were in training camp
They
where you
were.
can actually.
We're not that cheap.
Hey, yeah, we can. Hey, let's go look and see who's available. Let's
Right.
go work some guys in. We got a few weeks before the season starts.
Right.
But even then, though, Evan, that still was one of the most embarrassing moments ever.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. It was something else.
I think three offensive linemen got hurt in that game.
I love the team. I love the organization, but there's no way in hell they're going to win that game with Toy Lolo playing it.
Mhm.
It's God.
I think he was actually better than Jeremy Trueblood.
But that just goes to show how bad. That just goes to show how bad things were when it came to depth and what they had at that point. Like, man, they're putting a tight end at right tackle.
Yeah. Well,
That's
went
when you
into
know.
that
That's
game.
when you know the cupboard's bare when that happens.
Right.
Man.
Yes.
and I think that's part of what some of these rule changes are supposed to address. Like you can have 2 extra active players as long as one's an offensive lineman. So teams are probably going to activate like 8 instead of 7.
Speaking of that, we mentioned that last episode where they were thinking about upgrading or increasing the limit for practice squad players.
Yeah.
Didn't they increase it to
Good.
like
16
or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
16.
it's officially
Good.
16.
Yeah, 16 and 6 of them you can protect from other teams.
Good.
Yeah.
They
Ooh,
definitely need
okay.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
And I think
are they going to pay those kids more? The ones that they protect, are they going to pay? Are they going to pay them more? Or?
I honestly don't know. I think all of the salaries went up in the new CBA, like including rookie contracts and things like that, and they'll be gradually increasing. So I think the minimum salary within the next 3 years is going to be $1 million. But I don't know for sure about the practice squad.
Wait, that's the minimum?
Yeah, in 2 or 3 years. But there's a new rule where if you're signing veterans at their veteran minimum amount, they give you a credit on your salary cap so that they're on equal playing field with younger players. So for instance, you'll see a bunch of guys on over the cap that are their base salary is $910,000, but they're only counting $750K against the cap because that's the true minimum. So they're trying to encourage teams to sign older veterans because they'll effectively on the cap cost the same as a rookie veteran.
Are the Falcons offering open tryouts?
I mean, they signed a bunch of guys Kari Lee and all these other
$1 million.
Hey, we need to go hit the gym. See,
hey man,
squad, man.
Hey, look,
we're gonna pull up.
I'm just saying, with how much the salary cap is going up, I already know Keenan is thinking he came along a bit too early. He came along 10, 15 years too early.
Man, I got a couple plays left in me.
Hey, that might
Hey
be
man,
all you need, man.
we don't know what's gonna happen this year. There could be a team could this is very facetious. I seriously hope everyone stays healthy, but there could be a team that has a serious situation and they need to find some offensive linemen. So I think you should probably stay in shape because they might start calling guys.
We've seen them workout videos.
Yeah.
We'll only put Keenan in.
Yeah.
We'll only put Keenan in for the goal line package. We just got to put a special goal line package, man.
Hey, if you asking for more than 5 plays in a row, man, I don't know.
You pushing it there.
But if you need a good veteran presence, you need somebody to talk to the guys.
In the locker room.
There you go.
Voice in the locker room. Somebody to get the troops going.
A coach on the field.
Yeah.
That's a cool million right there.
Yeah, man, that's an easy meal right there.
I'll have that
I'll
conversation.
take that ticket.
Okay, I did want to address somebody's question before we get too far out of here. Let's see. I think it was. Tyler Raines had said that. I think it was Aaron Freeman was talking about the coaching staff possibly preferring Sheffield over Oliver on the outside, and that's why they made the Darqueze Dennard move. I didn't know if you guys had any thoughts on that particular scenario.
That's probably the likely scenario because Dennard can play boundary corner in a pinch, but I wouldn't want to roll with that for a long period of time. I'd much rather have Sheffield out there, even though I think Sheffield can be a really, really good slot corner, but he's used to playing outside. He played outside his entire career in college, just about. So that's the likelihood that they're going to go. That Dennard's probably going to be a starting nickel corner.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That's certainly a possibility, Tyler, that they like Sheffield better. We've heard Quinn talking up Sheffield all offseason. I believe it was in March. He was like, oh, yeah, we think Sheffield is a starter. He could be a cornerback one. So they really like Sheffield. Obviously, athletically, he's, awesome. I think he ran, a 4.28 in college or something like that.
Yep.
He was I think he was an All-American. I think he set some sort of track record at Ohio State. Yeah.
From a track.
So he's super fast. he's crazy
Texas
fast.
Boy.
Yeah.
Throw that out there.
Yeah, definitely.
So, size-wise, he's not like Isaiah Oliver.
Not in love with it, no.
But speed, if you're trying to match him up on Adam Thielen or something, who's not a big guy on the outside, then yeah, he's probably fine there. But we'll go back and look at the Seattle game where he was matched up against Tyler Lockett. Yes, Lockett plays in that game, but I can't think of a moment where Lockett created great separation with Sheffield. Sheffield was in his hip pocket the entire game, and Lockett is a top 5 slot receiver in the league. So that he can play.
Sheffield's first year playing too,
and it's first time seeing him. Yeah, so that boy, the athleticism should never be questioned when it comes to Kendall Sheffield. Yeah,
people don't realize when you have 4.2 speed, you don't have to have perfect technique because you can just catch up to people.
No, yeah.
You can be oh, I got beat on this double move. All right, I'm just going to close the gap because I've run a 4.28, So
exactly.
So that's, when you have an advantage like that, sometimes, you don't have to have the best technique in the world to be okay. But, so that is certainly a possibility, Tyler. It's a good question. Let's see. Hayden Hughes has a training camp related question here. He wants to know what our thoughts are on the wide receivers behind Julio and Ridley. So he's asking, who do we think will be the wide receiver 3 and some of the depth guys. So if you've taken a look at my most recent roster projection, which I think came out late last week, I had Russell Gage as the number 3. It seems like they're pretty comfortable with him taking that role, and he got a lot of targets last year. And then Laquan Treadwell's probably making the roster as like the 4th guy because they need an outside guy to play behind like Julio and Ridley. And in terms of size, like Laquan Treadwell is basically the only other guy with size in the wide receiver group. So I think he'll make it because of that. And then the other ones, it's pretty much up in the air. I mean, I think Olamide Zaccheaus has a great shot just because we saw what he could do last year in very limited touches. I mean, he had that, 97-yard touchdown?
93.
93, yeah. I mean, it was crazy long. So he's got the juice. He's good with the ball in his hands. I think he'll make it. And then he also was asking about punt and kick returner, and that kind of rolls into this question, which I think the only UDFA that might make the roster is actually Chris Rowland, the wide receiver out of Tennessee State. Electric returner. And I think that's a position where they might be more willing to take a shot on an undrafted guy than they would be elsewhere. So those are my guys. Did you guys have any thoughts on those depth wide receiver spots?
Exactly the same.
Yeah, pretty much.
I wrote an article. Yeah, I wrote an article about it a couple months ago, projecting who's going to be in what wide receiver role. And that was exactly it. Russell Gage 3, Treadwell 4. I think Zaccheaus is. I think they're very comfortable making Zaccheaus the wide receiver 5, and Chris Rowland, I think, is going to make the roster as a returner just because of how electric he was in college. But he's very undersized.
Yeah. He's going to be a returner.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, maybe a Taylor Gabriel type guy. Maybe they can work out some sort of, he was a guy that caught a lot of screens and a lot of
Dirk
jet
Cutter's
sweeps,
not great enough for that.
What? Dirk Cutter loves screens. What are you talking about? Yeah. Remember when we got Dirk Cutter to start running screens in like 2012, and then how quickly that turned.
Bubble screen is to death, man.
Yeah.
Ran like 18 bubble
Yeah.
screens.
How quickly the tables turned. Yeah.
There's a difference between a beautifully designed, perfectly called screen pass to Taylor Gabriel that Kyle Shanahan ran, and the bubble screen of Julio Jones on 1st and 10 that Dirk Cutter ran.
It's coming. You know it's coming.
Yeah, that's the problem with screens. They don't work that often.
I think when it comes to the depth guys, this could actually be, a breakout season for anybody who wants to win that wide receiver 3 spot. Because of course, on the surface, who's going to be the attention grabbers on the field. Julio's probably going to get doubled. Ridley's going to get some attention, and now teams got to worry about Gurley. So if you're a guy like Russell Gage or Laquan Treadwell, this is a prime opportunity for you right now to make yourself known, to be able to make some plays in this offense. So I think whoever wins that wide receiver 3 spot, man, you're looking at a guy that can put up some serious numbers this year, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like
get your plate and go sit at the buffet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yep.
Yeah, there's a ton. Well, there's a ton of targets up for grabs. Austin Hooper obviously was like 100 targets, and most of those are probably going to go to Hayden Hurst, who I think they're hoping is going to have basically the same role. But Russell Gage had a ton of targets after Mohamed Sanu left. I think he had 49 catches. Yards per catch were fairly pedestrian, but again, he should have more opportunity this year.
I'm very excited about Gage. I think this past year he had more receptions than he ever did in college.
Yeah.
Combined.
Well, when he got drafted, remember we were like, is he a DB or is he a wide receiver? We honestly didn't know.
He only had 1 year at the position when he got drafted. Full year.
Yeah,
that's why I'm excited. He's a late bloomer at the wide receiver position because he's never played wide receiver like that. At LSU, I think he started out as a DB and then they converted him to a wide receiver and a gadget player.
Yep.
And he's impressed me because I thought his ceiling was eventually becoming a wide receiver 3, a slot wide receiver in the NFL. He's already done that in his second year in the NFL. So, his ceiling's a bit higher than I thought it was initially.
Yeah. His athleticism is really excellent too, and he's a great gunner on special teams. He's made a ton of special teams tackles every year since he got made the gunner. So he's a guy that's going to be around for a while, I think. And I'm happy for him that he's getting an opportunity because, like you said, he's a late bloomer. It took a team kind of willing to take a chance on him. And the Falcons, I got to hand it to him for giving him that opportunity when a lot of teams probably wouldn't have. So.
And with Gage, what impresses me is just the work he's put into it, because he could have easily just carved out a great niche as a gunner and maybe built a great career out of that, because he was drafted as a sixth-round special teams specialist. And, he could have easily carved out a very nice NFL career out of just special teams, taking that bit of a lazy route. But he's put in the work to be a wide receiver, and he's the wide receiver 3, and who knows where he can end up being at the wide receiver position. It just tells me that he's put in a lot of work these past few off seasons since coming to Atlanta at the position.
Yeah. Matt Ryan really seemed to get comfortable just kind of dumping the ball off to him after Sanu was gone. He kind of became that short area target when Matt Ryan just needed an outlet immediately. Like, it was just going to Gage. And Gage made some great catches, and he got leveled a few times too. I mean, he's a tough guy. So I'm excited to see what he does this year.
I hope that he just takes advantage of what's around him. He's got Julio, who I don't think too many teams are going to let Julio be one-on-one. And then you've seen Calvin Ridley. He's probably going to get some doubles as well. I just hope that he realizes, hey, look here, you're going to get some times for some one-on-ones, sometimes against some linebackers covering you in space. Man, you got to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Take advantage and go eat.
There is one team in the division that believes they can hold Julio one-on-one. I think we all know who that team is. But
yeah,
it's
those pesky Carolina Panthers. I'm kidding.
Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be some opportunities on the table for these guys.
Yeah. They have the weapons. It's not a lack of weapons. Like, it's all on the offensive line, which Keenan has some insight into, obviously, because I know you've been working with Lindstrom and McGarry. And I heard maybe you were working with, was it Sean Harlow too?
Yeah, he came out for that last week and got some work as well. Yeah. He, I guess, word travels fast. Hey, I guess I do kind of know what I'm talking about just a little bit. So they came out and we worked on a few things. Hopefully we can continue this tradition going forward.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, and those guys, I know you said they're in great shape and healthy now.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I think we're all excited to see what they can do.
It's only a matter of time until Keenan parlays this into an offensive line coaching position. So.
Yeah, I hope
he's speaking life. You speaking life.
Yeah, I hope so, man.
I hope Quinn is paying attention. Like, wait a minute, these guys went. They worked with Keenan in the offseason and they look like totally different players. Man, we might need to holler at him real quick.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? They have a really good coach in Chris Morgan already there. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind just being like a consultant or just kind of a technical advisor, if you will. You know what I mean? Like,
any title you want. Titles, it's not about the title. You're just trying to get in there and help these guys out. So.
Right.
Very much so. Very much so. I want to see young players succeed, especially guys on the offensive front, especially the guy playing right guard, because y'all know that's near and dear to my heart.
Well, they got a future All-Pro right there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, man. You guys ought to see him when he's working too, man. Like, I mean, you want to talk about somebody that's in great shape, that doesn't get tired, like, and is asking for more. Like, we usually meet for like an hour and it ends up turning into be 2.5 hours sometimes. I'll just be like, man, yo.
Have these guys added weight in the offseason?
If they did, it was good weight. Like, I mean, Caleb takes his shirt off and he looks like damn Kane from the WWE. And Lindstrom is a lean 315 pounds, however much he told me he weighs. They look good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, the Falcons don't usually ask their guys to be like 320 plus, like, because they're doing more zone scheme stuff. But yeah, I mean, 315, 320, like that's a good weight for those guys. So.
Yeah, and they don't have beer kegs for stomachs. You know what I mean? They look pretty good, man. I can't wait to see them. I can't wait to see them get out there this year, because they need to play with each other so they can get that chemistry together.
Yeah, I'm excited to see that. I think that's going to be a good tandem for years to come, so I'm pretty excited about that.
I really want to see Sean Harlow, go ahead and take that step too. Me and him were talking, and I was just like, man, this is that time for you. This is that time you need to go ahead and, show him that you that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, like he can play center, he can play guard, so he's got a lot of value to him, you know, if he does get on the market. But, you know, he's been there for, what, 3, I think this is going to be his 4th year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to see him go ahead and, you know, get his shot and take it and run with it.
Yeah, because well, I know coming out, like, he came from a program that was extremely run heavy, and he just, as a pass protector, just didn't have a lot of reps. It kind of reminded me of, like, your situation. You know, you said you came out of a system that was extremely pass heavy, and you get to Atlanta, and it's like, okay, now you need to run block, like, every play. You know? So, I mean, that's a tough transition for anybody. Obviously, you, like, crushed it and immediately became the starter, but you know, sometimes it takes a little while for guys. I mean,
it takes a little while, yes, sir.
Wasn't Harlow? I think he was also in Indianapolis or something. Didn't he end up getting cut and
left for like a
bouncing
year,
around and coming back?
Yeah, he did. He did. Someone else took a look at him, and then the Falcons picked him back up, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, the cross training at center is valuable, obviously, for if you're trying to fight for one of those final roster spots. So, I mean, it'll be a tough road for him. It'll be a tough road for. I mean, that offensive line group is kind of stacked in terms of depth. Like, they got a bunch of veterans. You know, they got Jamon Brown, James Carpenter. They added Justin McCray. They got John Wetzel. I mean, they just got a lot of experienced veterans. John Wetzel, that poor man. John Wetzel just gets cut and re-signed like every week, man. I cannot. Yeah. I could not handle that. Like, hey, John, don't move out of your house, okay? Like, just stay there. We'll call you. You know, that poor man. He just doing humans work out there. Just always being that last guy on the roster. But he's probably not too upset about it since he keeps getting re-signed. But
as long as you're getting paid, I guess it's okay.
Yeah, as long as you get re-signed before the weekend, you know. So.
Amen. There you go.
Yep.
It probably walks in Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitrov's office, and they're like, "Oh, here we go again. We'll see you next weekend."
We had a linebacker injury. All right, John, we'll see you in a couple days.
They just text them. They don't even call them into the office.
Yeah. You can stay home today.
There's like, you know, his shoe prints are just embedded in the rug. Yeah.
We'll have to go for about a couple of weeks. We'll bring it back, though. We'll bring it back.
Yeah.
Hey, John, sleep in the next few days. You don't have to show up.
Yeah.
Man, it's a tough life. It's a tough life being that last man on the roster. But it's better than being the guy that's not on the roster at all. So
that's what's going to be interesting is, you know, there's two more spots that's going to have to free up because of the COVID list when Jamal Carter and Keith Smith are back.
Yeah, I'm not. He
may be one of them guys. You know, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I think we kind of expected it's probably going to be mostly undrafted guys getting axed, but we have seen some veterans too, and we're going to talk about some of the veterans that we saw cut. But I did want to get to. There's one offensive line related question from Hayden Hughes since we're on it. I figured we'd talk about it, and that was he wants to know who we think is going to win at left guard. It's kind of an open competition at this point. We've heard Jamon Brown thrown around. We've heard James Carpenter thrown around. The rookie Matt Hennessy, Justin McCray's now in the mix. So why don't you guys just give me a quick thoughts on who you think is going to end up as that left guard this year?
I still think they want Jamon to win.
I think so too. Yeah. You know, he's fairly young.
It's been that way since day one, since they were brought in. I think that's who they want to win the starting guard spot.
Yeah.
So, up to him to go ahead and go get it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's unfortunate because it seems like his best years were at right guard, and then when he started playing right guard after Lindstrom went down, he started playing pretty well, and then he got moved back to left guard again, and it's just like that constant shuffling. That's just hard, man.
So, real quick, let Keenan explain like the type of transition when it comes to that, because I don't think people understand, you know, the transitioning from a right guard to a left guard spot and what entails with that. Like, it's not.
Yeah, it's a lot different. Like, as far as like your footwork and your hand placement, you know, it's like if you're on the right side and you're taking on a 3 technique with somebody lined up outside shoulder of you, you know, and they're running straight up the field, you want to be more heavy-handed with your right hand on them, you know, and you have your catch hand, which is your left hand, more on that inside number. So now when you switch over to the left side, you got to flip it and reverse it. I know it sounds easy, but, you know, think about if you're a right-handed person, now you got to get on the left side. You know, it can be a little tricky, definitely. You know, it's not just a clean move every time like that.
And what's interesting behind all that is the fact that when Jamon came into the league, I think he played guard, 1 year?
Yeah, he was left tackle, I think.
He wasn't even a guard. He was a tackle.
He was left tackle. Yeah.
He played for 1 year, came into the league, transitioned straight to guard, and then he played, about 3 or 4 years at right guard?
Yeah.
and then like last year was his first year transitioning over to left guard.
Yeah.
So
he never played left guard at all.
Never played left guard. No.
Yeah.
And that was his first year. So I'm not making any excuses for him or anything like that. But you're talking about a guy that's never really played the position, and then when he finally got a grasp of one position, they were like, "Hey, we need you to play over there."
Yeah.
So
it's hard.
That could be rough. That's rough, man.
Yeah, and it looked like he was finally getting comfortable at right guard, like in New York with the Giants, like 2018.
Right.
He had like a very good end of the season, which is why the Falcons gave him that money. And then they're like immediately like, okay, go back to the left side, and I think that's why a lot of us like we're talking about, well, maybe they're going to make Lindstrom switch to left side, even though he played right in college, just because Jamon Brown has shown that he can be a good right guard, but. It makes sense that they're going to keep the rookie where he's comfortable. I mean, that certainly does make sense. But they're moving somebody around, and unfortunately it was Brown. And it seemed like he got a little bit of a slow start, and then he did get the starting nod, but then there was all these injuries. It was just the whole shuffle last year just made it difficult for anyone out there. So I think with the full training camp, hopefully at left guard now, and opportunities, I think Brown certainly has to have a little bit of a – I think he's the favorite, but Justin McCray, he's a solid option at guard. He's much better at guard than he's been at tackle. He's been like a solid starter at guard, and he doesn't really have the measurables for tackle. So I mean, teams have played him there in a pinch, and he's not.
I don't see why.
He's got short arms. He's a guard. I mean, he looks like a guard to me. I mean, I remember him playing at UCF, and they played him at tackle. But I mean, he was someone who was going to be a guard in the NFL, and he's been able to play tackle, so he offers that versatility in a pinch. But at guard, he's much, I think, more comfortable. So he's someone that should be not counted out either. But obviously, Carpenter is a seasoned vet as well. Struggled last year. I mean, pretty much everyone struggled, so I don't want to hold it against him too much. But it's going to be a fierce battle, and we're going to probably not know for a little while. But I do hope that they pick sooner rather than later, because I'm sure Keenan can attest to it. Like, building that chemistry with the guys in training camp for at least a week or two before you go into the season, and having that core group together. I mean, I think that's more important than people realize.
Oh, yeah. And also, too, you need those preseason games so you can get out there and, get game speed while you're taking your pass sets or you're doing your run foot patterns. Mm-hmm. You need that game speed going against who you're going to go against, because it's hard to duplicate that in practice. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, it is.
Going to try.
I think they're going to try to do some scrimmages maybe and things like that, and try to,
Quinn has come out and said that they're going to try to, replicate some game scenarios in practice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to try.
That's as close as they can be able to get.
Yeah. So, I mean, but it's going to be rough on everyone. I mean, everyone's going to be at the same disadvantage. So it might be a little bit of a sloppy start to the season, but at least everyone will have the same exact disadvantage. So.
Sloppy start against Seattle. That's not really good.
It's going to be a rough week one. That's one of those week ones where you just throw everything out the window. Yeah. Everything you think like you just throw it out because you don't know if there's going to be a blown coverage here. You don't know the offensive players if they aren't at full speed, if they aren't prepared for it. It's going to be wild in fantasy football. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Fantasy this year is going to be totally crazy.
Don't want a sloppy start against a good team like that, man.
Right.
That can be something we look back on at the end of the season and say, man, they missed out on the playoff spot by a game, and you go back to week one and they just look sloppy because they had.
But at the same time, maybe Seattle looks sloppy and they steal one that they shouldn't have in week one.
Yeah, it could happen. That hasn't usually gone our way in week one, but I'm willing to accept that as possible.
No. I will say Matt Ryan's only lost one home opener in his entire career,
that
was in 2016 against the Bucs.
Yeah, I think the last 2 years have been road.
Isn't that the last home opener they had?
No, home opener is in the first home game of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So since 2008, I think if my math is correct, the Falcons are 11-1 in the home opener in the Matt Ryan era.
Yeah,
I think he's been here 12 years.
Yeah. Well, their home field advantage used to be dominant. I mean, the Falcons used to have a pretty strong home field advantage. That's been, I think, a little bit less in recent years. But hopefully we can get people excited this year.
In fairness, it really wasn't there last year against the Eagles. I mean, I went to that game and it was like 30% Eagles fans. You could hear them screaming on that fourth down.
Yeah, Yeah, unfortunately, that was not enough for them. That was like our one bright spot in the whole first half of the season. But
I felt so excited. I was so excited. I was like, all right, here we go.
yeah, we were all pretty hyped.
I forget, was that game at home or was that away? I forget.
It was
at home.
So.
Sunday night. Sunday night football.
Okay.
Yeah.
The fourth and goal. Or not the fourth and goal, but the fourth down screen pass to Julio.
Fourth and 4 to Julio. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course, Cutter calls a screen to Julio.
That was actually Matt Ryan.
It did win him the game.
That was actually Matt Ryan who audibled to that.
Yeah, he
did.
Audible.
He audibled to that play.
Okay.
Whoa, that's the play where Jake Matthews was running on the sprint. Okay.
Yeah.
Jake Matthews had some wheels on that play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jake Matthews made that play, but everyone made that play. Muhammad knew as well.
At least Cutter probably gave Matt Ryan that play to audible too, so his fingerprints are still on it. So when it worked, Cutter was like, "See, I told you guys the screen will work. Like
I told you the screen.
That's gonna be a staple in this playbook."
And then if it didn't work, he'd be like, "Matt, what are you doing? Why'd you audible to that? I told you to run this."
Hey, that's how coaches do though. Hey, if it worked, yeah, I told you it would work, and if it didn't work, I told him not to do that.
You need to execute. Yeah.
I feel like I have to make the joke, but I kind of wish Matt Ryan could have audibled in Super Bowl 51 if he had the opportunity.
God.
Let's not. How about we don't talk about that?
Oh my goodness. Hey, you know what? You know what's funny? That's the conversation I have a lot with people is that, I wish that when that play call came in from Shanahan to drop back, I wish Matt Ryan would have looked at him in his eyes, shot him the bird, and hey, we about to call a run.
Yeah.
We about to keep this clock going.
Yeah.
To his credit, Ryan did not know that his running back was going to miss the block.
That too.
Yeah.
That too.
And
yeah.
At least it was
And
consistent with what Shanahan had done.
If that play would have played out, they would have scored on that.
Yeah, because
that was
open.
a few series. That was a few series earlier. I'm talking about after the Julio catch.
Oh yeah.
In the fourth quarter.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, that one there's no justification. But like the one where Freeman missed the block,
at
it
the
was
15.
like, yeah.
You're
Yeah.
at the 15.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
A field goal wins it. But
Jesus.
I mean,
Right.
to be fair,
That's
Shanahan was being
that's
Shanahan the
just-
whole time. Like Shanahan's like, I don't care. Like we're aggressive. We're gonna score. Like I don't need no field goals. Okay. Like and he'd been that way all season. So
Yeah, if it works, then we're like singing his praises. We're talking about how wonderfully aggressive we were and how we never let the foot off the gas. But
that's how it always
But,
goes.
I never had an issue with him in that particular situation. You're up 8 with 4 minutes left. I never had an issue with him wanting to score a touchdown. Like, a field goal would have made it a 2-score game, but it was just the play calling at the 15.
Yeah.
Your Julio just made one of the greatest catches in Super Bowl history. Keep the momentum, pound the rock, man. You're at the 15. You're
Like you don't need to throw
Yeah,
that
yeah.
early. It's just,
in fairness, you never know. Like you have Matt Bryan, which is as close to automatic as you can get, but that's what the Vikings saw with Gary Anderson in 1998 too.
Yeah.
But I'm more mad about the Freeman block or the missed block because that was Matt Ryan loading up, and it was I think Aldrick Robinson was streaking downfield wide open
on a corner route. Yep.
Yeah.
Streaking that would have made it 35 to 9, and then you're talking about just a route.
Yeah.
Put it away.
There's a lot of things that could, would have, should have, in that game. But I think we've lost about 10 viewers since we started talking about the Super Bowl. So we should probably switch topics here. But
but that's all right. But that's all right though. That's all right.
Yeah.
They're going to win it this year.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Yeah.
No one's going to give them credit for being Super Bowl champs because it happened in the year that we had coronavirus.
No, I don't care.
They'll try to put a star on that shit.
Yeah.
I don't care. Yeah.
That's what they're going to do.
No, I don't care. I don't care.
I'll take it. I'll take it anyway. I
It's
can
like
get
the
it.
drug era in baseball.
Yeah. That's what they're going to do. Oh, you guys won a Super Bowl, but coronavirus, you had no fans in the
But
game.
Damian Williams opted out. So.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
We didn't have all our guys. They opted out.
Yeah.
Right.
Patriots fans will be saying. Yeah.
This doesn't count. Vic Beasley didn't show up this season.
Yeah.
He didn't show up last
He
year
was the
either.
difference.
What season did he really show up?
He showed up in 2016.
Oh my gosh!
Man, we're just
it's
brutalizing Vic tonight. Oh man, I'm so sorry, Vic. If you're struggling out there, I'm gonna put a Vic trigger warning on that episode so he doesn't watch.
I mean, I just like I said earlier in the show, man. It just bothers me that a player that gifted just doesn't want to put the work in. Like football is never given to you. Like even some of the greatest of all time have put work in, and for someone to want to get the glory and the money and all that type of stuff, but don't want to put the work in the off season, like it's a disrespect to the sport in my opinion, and that's what I feel he did.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of fans that are with you on that one. He was definitely a pariah in his final years in Atlanta, but. Yeah, I mean, obviously hope he's okay out there, and please show up, Vic, both for you and for our 5th round comp pick.
Okay. In fairness, he didn't help with the image, just like being next to the locker room on that 4th and goal, or on that goal line play against the Saints in overtime, not showing up to training camp. It's just all that kind of stuff, praising Drew Brees on Twitter after he broke that record. I remember Falcons Twitter just ravaging him. After
I wasn't on Twitter then. That happened.
That happened. Yeah. So like, it's not just one thing or another thing with Vic. It's like he just made a series of poor decisions.
It's been a build-up, and I remember I think it was after Drew Brees broke the touchdown record on Monday Night Football or something. He was talking about how he's one of the greatest of all time. This that, and then Falcons Twitter is like, bro, what are you doing?
Like, they all look like seriously.
Like you can think that, okay, just don't tweet it, you know. Yeah. That's pretty rough. Yeah, you don't say that. You just don't say that. You don't praise the Saints while you're on the Falcons. You can praise it when you're retired, and you're trying to respect, we can say it on here. Like, Drew Brees is a very good quarterback. He's probably going to be a Hall of Famer, but, I'm not going to be tweeting that out anytime soon.
You don't have to get out on your knees and, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what he did.
And get dirty with it, you know what I'm saying?
He got ratioed so hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We grabbed our pitchforks and jumped in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Was he the only one, or was there other guys that were on Twitter praising Drew?
I think he was the only Falcon.
I don't think
he was the only Falcon.
I don't think any other Falcons are dumb enough to do that.
He was the only Falcon.
Right.
He got praise from around the league. He was literally.
They teach him that usually early.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So before we're starting to get into the hour mark here, so I did want to address a couple other things. This has been great conversation. There's just a couple news hits. So there's been some waived players that are somewhat noteworthy, especially the veteran punter Ryan Allen, who I actually had winning the punter competition because I figured the Falcons would be more comfortable with a veteran, in a COVID season where there's not going to be preseason, there's not going to be all this stuff. So, the rookie Sterling Hoffrichter, who I love and have actually got to see in person because he plays at Syracuse, I think he's great, but I just didn't know if they'd be comfortable, handing the job to a rookie this year. But
that old punter competition in training camp.
Yeah, man, that was going to be a scorcher, and they just ended it before it began, man. Ryan Allen
must-see TV right there.
Kevin, the punter competition doesn't matter. The Falcons won't be punting at all this season. Every single drive will end in a field goal kick, whether that's extra point or field goal.
Well, he can kick field goals too, Sterling Hoffrichter. So.
Hey.
The
punter's just going to be cashing a check this season, no matter who it is.
He's going to be stealing. Good. I like that. Into the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's August. It's time to up the optimism a little bit. I have to make up for it. I just created a Super Bowl conversation that lasted 10 minutes, so let's make up for it.
Got to inject some optimism in here, yeah.
Cleanest jersey in the locker room method again.
Oh, yeah. Just bright.
Yeah, they'll think he's a fan.
But yeah, Allen did get cut, which means that Sterling Hoffrichter, the rookie, is presumably going to be the starter unless they add someone else, which is cool because I like Sterling a lot. His hand makes the Vulcan salute when he punts. So to me, that means he's already the GOAT.
And he's a Syracuse boy.
Yeah, he's a Syracuse boy. He's just a really good punter. I mean, I don't know if you guys know all of his accolades, but He let me find one of the craziest stats that I saw.
I know he does the long. He can also kick long field goals.
Yeah, he hit a 52-yarder last
like
year.
if they're in a pin.
Yeah, well, we'll need that with Koo on the team.
Possibly, yeah. So he was nominated for the Ray Guy Award, which, for those that don't know, that's the nation's best punter. He was nominated all 4 years that he was the punter.
That's big time.
I got a question. How come Koo is wearing number 7, man? I kind of thought that was a little blasphemy.
When that first happened, fans were not happy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's because he's like a punter or a kicker, so they're like, oh, well, he's not trying to steal Vic's thunder as like a skill position guy. You know, he's just the kicker. But I mean, look, 7's the best number. When I first saw it,
what was that? The Saints game I saw it, and I was like, that just don't look right.
Yeah, I mean, 7 is the best number, so you know, it's. I understand the desire to have it, but
they used to only give it to those undrafted free agents.
Oh yeah, the random receivers, yeah. And then no one ever got it. But I guess they're comfortable with Koo having. So if Koo has a great career as a kicker, then you know that maybe it'll be.
Yeah, he made a couple onside kicks and people stopped complaining.
Yeah, as soon as he made those kicks, man.
Hey, when you can recover 3 straight onside kicks, do you know how mathematically improbable that is?
No one replaces Vic, okay? Like, he will always be the best number 7 in team history.
Yeah, I was finna say, anytime I go into the stadium, I don't see people wearing, no disrespect, but it's not 7. It don't say Koo on the back.
I mean, in fairness,
no disrespect.
In fairness, there can't be a better number 7 if they only give it to undrafted guys and kickers.
Yeah.
They expect that number not to get picked up, huh? Is that what it is?
Maybe.
Hey, but you know what? Back to whatever on what y'all said earlier. You know, we're not gonna worry about the punter. The punter's gonna be deactivated on game day. They gonna get another defensive lineman out there to help Tack and Dante rush the quarterback. Hey, as a matter of fact, did y'all see how good Tack McKinley looks out there? Like, just physically.
Yeah. Yep. I saw a picture and I was like,
it's a chip on the shoulder. Hey, this is the season, man. Everybody,
it has to be.
Everybody in that
like, I felt bad for Fowler. He looked kind of skinny next to him.
It's like that picture of Derrick Henry
Mark
and Mark
Ingram.
Yeah.
Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry.
That's what it looked like.
Everybody in the building has a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, that's what you want to see.
Definitely has.
I remember. Just for a second, just going back to that picture of Derrick Henry and Ingram, you guys know the one we're talking about where Derrick Henry looks like
in the Natty.
Ingram's kind of looking at him.
Yeah, and it's like Mark Ingram was tweeting out praise after the Titans beat the Patriots. He was tweeting out praise for Derrick Henry. It was just like 20 different comments, just like posting that picture. And Mark Ingram was trying to hide all of them. Like, you go into the hidden replies, it's just him hiding all of those.
It was like the perfect angle. So Mark Ingram just looks like this tiny person. It's like Mark Ingram's not short. It's just like Derrick Henry's just this huge dude.
I just hope this helps Tack develop. Honestly, putting that weight on, because he's had some real shoulder injuries over the past. I mean, you go back to his time at UCLA, man. So this is the opportunity for him to, again, try to take that step. And him putting on that bulk, he definitely looks bigger, man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, it looks lean. Looks like it looks a lot more ripped up. You know, I don't want to say he's ripped up like a bodybuilder, but he definitely looks a lot leaner and a lot more. He's
added some definition this offseason.
Yeah.
Sure. I hope he's added, some different rush moves to his game. I think that'll help him. That'll also keep him healthier too, because let's be honest, if you bull rushing every time, that shoulder, you engage in your shoulders and your hands.
Exactly.
So, hopefully he gets a few more finesse moves to his game, and that'll help keep him healthier on the long run. Because if you bull rush every time, that's just gonna make you tired, man.
Exactly. And Keenan can attest to this. A good defensive lineman has great hands. It doesn't matter what else. If speed is one thing, technique is something else. But if he has active hands, he can win some battles. That's all that really matters. So he needs to develop that stage.
Absolutely. It's also one of those where, and I'm sure Keenan can also attest to it, if you're an offensive lineman and you feel the defensive player getting tired, you have him right where you want him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially when you realize, you've taken his move away from him, and if he's a power rusher, you know what I'm saying? Like a bull rusher, and you can, sit in there and sink in there and get your hands in on him, and that's all he got. You're like, okay, this is.
Well, of course.
I'm good with this.
Fourth quarter is money time for the offensive lineman at that point.
Exactly. You just like, man, this is easy. I'm just gonna sit back, wait for it to come, get my hands inside, and just hey, throw the ball whenever you're ready back there. But like, you know, the better rushers in the league, and just historically, they always have them a good pass rush move. You know what I mean? Like your Warren Sapp, you know, he would get almost like in a 4-eye and kind of jab, step, cross, chop you, and he would do it every time. And you see it on tape, but when you get out there on the field, like if you blink, you miss it.
Yeah,
it's that fast. It's not no power move. He might give you some power every so often, but his thing is a nice little finesse pass rush move.
I remember listening to an interview of Reggie White, and early in his career, Reggie White said that every time he lined up before the snap, he has about 3 moves in his mind as far as what he might do to get to the quarterback. And that separates a pass rusher. Because if you go to the line and at the snap, if you're thinking like, all right, I'm just going to bull rush, you know, you're like Keenan said, you're just leaving yourself to vulnerability as the game goes on.
Because part of it is reading.
A multitude of ways to get to the quarterback, man. That's how you write the checks there. That's how you get to the quarterback.
Yeah, and you know, we saw it with like Dwight Freeney and stuff. You know, his thing was like, I'm gonna like speed rush to the outside, and then his thing, you know, was that devastating spin. You know, he would just like he'd hit that outside rush a few times with that crazy speed, and then he'd just hit that spin when he catches the tackle cheating. You know, catches the tackle cheating to the outside, and then just hit that spin. He's just a flash, and he's in. I mean,
buddy, and he's rushing so low to the ground when he hit that edge, and then he would counter those guys back with the spin just to get them to lean. He'll get those guys leaning on him, and next thing you know, hit the brakes and spin off of them, that motorcycle spin, and boy, you see guys falling flat on their faces.
Grasping for air.
Oh, yeah.
Man. But those are your most dangerous rushers who you were just talking about, like your Reggie White. They don't know what they're going to do. They're the instinct rushers. You know, they going to do whatever you give them, you know, so that's why you got to be perfect on your technique, and hell, sometimes being perfect on them, it might not work out for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Imagine facing those Colts teams and just having to go up against that tandem of Freeney and Robert Mathis.
We did 1 year.
Yeah.
Man.
That must not have been fun. And also, like, just like the film study before, leading up to that week, you just know that it's going to be a difficult day if you're not on your game.
Yeah. It really is. And
you know the spin move is coming. You just don't know when.
Yeah, it's happening somewhere. Somehow it's happening. So let's see. So it was Ryan Allen was cut, and we got Hofrichter probably being the starting punter, and then the other really notable name was Austin Larkin, who defensive end. And I think that was kind of surprising for a lot of us because we figured he'd be, you know, one of the guys really competing for a spot, but possibly that trade for Charles Harris kind of was the writing on the wall that they were going to go with Harris to be that final guy on the roster. I'm not convinced that Larkin isn't better, but you know.
Not only that, but even to make some more room for a guy like Kaminsky, who's still coming on as well. Like I think that's what, you know, letting Larkin go will provide a lot more opportunities for guys like Harris and Kaminsky, you know, going forward.
Yeah, we'll always have that second preseason game, Austin Larkin. That was a good one last year.
That was the GOAT preseason performance. That was pretty fantastic. So, man, if only you could just he didn't really get an opportunity to play much, which is sad. And I'm sure he'll catch on elsewhere just because he's got that great preseason tape that'll help him get some interest. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed that he didn't even get a chance to compete, and that's just kind of an unfortunate side effect of this whole COVID offseason is that these undrafted guys and these kind of bottom of the roster guys, like some of them aren't even going to get to show up on the field because, you know, their teams are having to cut to 80 or split camp, you know, and a lot of teams are kind of showing that they don't really want to split camp, which makes sense. But it just means that like 10 of these guys, they don't even get a chance to like run a route and catch a pass from somebody, you know, they don't get a chance to line up and pass rush even one time, and it's just like, you just hate it for them because, I mean, you worked your whole career for this one shot, and then you get cut before camp even opens. It's a brutal game, man. Brutal game for these guys.
And then you're wondering, like, what's the reasons why I'm getting cut?
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't anything physical because we haven't been able to get out here and show if we can handle, you know, the physical part of it. Like, what is it, you know? Like, that would be hard to deal with if I was a guy that got cut off of this, you know, what's going on now. That would suck.
Yeah.
Especially those undrafted guys. Like, at least, Larkin can show what he did before. These newer guys who joined, they literally showed up and like a day later got cut.
Yeah.
They had virtual meetings and stuff all off season, but that's not the same as even getting on the practice field, or the dream of making it onto an NFL field, even if it was preseason. So now they're all just out of jobs for basically numbers because they had to get to 80.
Yeah, they probably weren't really basing it on they couldn't base it on anything on field. It was probably just like, well, we have extra guys here and extra guys here, so we have to cut, these guys. And it's just, I mean, it's, wide receivers probably the next spot. They got a lot of wide receivers. They're probably going to make some cuts there. I mean, it's unfortunate. And hopefully some of these guys will get a shot again next year, or, it seems like maybe the XFL is going to come back, so maybe some of these guys can get a shot there. I hope that works out too. I mean, we've seen, guys from the XFL get shots. Like the Falcons, I think, have like 3 guys from the XFL on their roster at this point. So, hopefully some kind of shot these guys get, because they deserve it. I mean, they put a whole college career and high school career together for this one chance at the NFL, and then just to have it pulled out from under you before you even get a chance to get on the field. It's just, I feel for them. So I hope that they can find success elsewhere.
Yeah, you know what? And I hope that maybe the NFL kind of steps in and helps the XFL to be successful, because that can be kind of your minor league system, or they might mess around and look at it as that's our competition. We can't help them get too strong, because they might start battling and taking some of our top guys like the old USFL used to, and I know they don't want that happening.
That may be the difference in having a guy like The Rock putting all this together and having a guy like Vince McMahon putting all this together. McMahon is the type that doesn't want to have any competition. He wants to eliminate everything, except a guy like The Rock, who's actually played football and actually had an opportunity to at least try to make it in the NFL. This guy may be looking at it from the actual football aspect instead of the actual business standpoint.
Yeah,
so you're saying he might be more open-minded.
He might be more open. He may be going forward with Goodell later on down the line and the NFLPA and say, hey guys, how can we take 2 different leagues and eventually make it as one? Compared to Vince McMahon, who's like, I need to get better ratings than NFL. That's why I'm doing it.
And that's why the XFL failed last time. This time it was because of COVID. I mean, it was doing decently well to start, but it's like, people need to understand that you can't compete with the NFL. Like, you're not going to beat the NFL. Like, it's just not possible. Like, you can't possibly have enough money to pay NFL quarterbacks to come to play in the XFL. Like, you're not giving out $30 million a year contracts to quarterbacks worth their salt. So, like, you're not going to compete for these high-end players. So what you need to do is be a place where guys want to play so they can get a shot in the NFL. Like you said, like a minor league feeder system. And it's also smart that they're doing it in the spring, because no one's watching XFL games when there's NFL games on. But when a time when there's no football, it's perfect, because, you just make it entertaining enough, make the football good enough. People will watch it in the spring. And we've seen with this very limited view that even those 6 games or whatever they played was enough to get guys NFL tryouts, and I think we've seen that can be and convince people to buy in. Yeah, exactly.
I think Kari Lee didn't he play in the NFL
years.
before?
Yeah. And then he played 1 year with the DC Defenders, the XFL team, and now he's getting another shot.
Same with Koo, but that wasn't XFL. It was that other
Canadian
league.
Oh no, AAF. Yeah, it was the AAF. Yeah. RIP to the AAF too, but
that was fun.
Yeah, make it like a straight up developmental league.
Yeah,
kind of like the old World League or the NFL Europe back in the day. Just come to the NFL on those terms. Pretty much just get out on the lay down.
Yeah. I guarantee you, The Rock has thought about that before. At some point. I guarantee you.
Yeah, because I mean, he's a guy that understands that, like, even someone as physically gifted as The Rock, like, he didn't catch on, and maybe if he had an opportunity to go play in like a D League type of situation, like a Division II of the NFL, maybe he would have had a shot, that he didn't get.
He's a good business sense too, because I mean, not to transition into wrestling, but you watch how he was at the top of his game, like he was wrestling. Like I mean, I don't even watch it, but you knew who The Rock was
Mm-hmm.
without having to watch it.
Yeah, yeah.
And now then he, takes a questionable route into film, and now he's like a blockbuster movie star making all this money.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He
The
clearly
action
has good
star.
instincts.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
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 And he can relate to those guys that play college ball and are having a little harder time trying to get to the NFL. So
And he's approachable. Everybody loves The Rock.
Exactly.
He's,
Exactly.
He's a
so
perfect
thinking,
face.
He's thinking of them. So he said, you know what? Let's make their path a little easier
Yeah.
by, kind of merging a little bit with the NFL and making things work on both sides.
Yeah.
Yep. Because, I mean, if you think about it, most of the time, if you get cut from the NFL and you can't get on that squad, and let's just say there was like a small little whatever from you making that team, you know what I mean? Sometimes you might have been neck and neck with somebody, but they kept somebody just because the coach might have liked him more, or whatever the reason might have been, and they send guys to the Canadian League. Well, the Canadian League, they're only keeping so many Americans on that roster, so
it's easy to get lost in there too in that league.
Yeah, all that. At least if you're here, you know what I mean, and playing in the United States, them scouts are more likely to come travel to those games, and a lot of times they'll know those coaches so they can request that film. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to dealing with Canada and going up there and watching a game in Calgary or trying to call some coach that they don't know.
Yeah.
It's easy to get lost in the roster up there in Canada.
Plus, I know we've had this conversation before, but even the value of putting teams like in this kind of developmental league in cities where there isn't real football or a big college presence, because you see how, right now is a bad example, but like years ago, if you went to like I live in Daytona, we have a Daytona, I think Tortugas or whatever baseball team. It's like those crowds are massive, and it's for a minor league. Could you imagine like football in these towns where there's no real football to watch or anything like that? It'd be huge.
Yeah, like a college town or something, huh?
Yeah, like
or
Orlando
even
is perfect.
places where there's not. Yeah, like Orlando would be perfect. I don't know, Memphis or something like these kind of towns where there's maybe an NFL team somewhat nearby, but not in that immediate. Like Los Angeles, I imagine it might not be the best.
No, I don't think that is a great place. Yeah, because there's so many other things to do. But like Orlando, it's like they have the soccer team now, but like the Apollos were the most popular team in the or was it? No, maybe that was AAF. I can't remember.
Yeah, AAF, but we were undefeated, or I think we were like the best ones in there. But
everyone got behind that team. Was there an Orlando XFL team? I can't remember.
There was the first time.
Yeah, it was the first time. But yeah, Orlando's a perfect city for that. There's a bunch of other ones across St. Louis, I think, would probably be happy to have a football team again. There's
exactly. San Diego,
yeah. There's a lot of cities that can support a smaller franchise, like an XFL franchise, that might not normally be enough for like an NFL franchise. But I think The Rock has that in mind, and I think he's much less confrontational and like competitive compared to Vince McMahon. Like, you don't need to make the NFL your enemy for this to work. In fact, that's how you're going to lose, because if the NFL doesn't want you to succeed, they're going to go out of their way to be like, okay, well, you can't sign with the XFL if you want to play in the NFL. Like, they could make it really difficult for players. But, if you're friendly with the NFL, maybe guys that are on like reserve future contracts or guys that are, practice squad guys, they might be able to work something out with the XFL. They're like, all right, you can play on an XFL contract, as long as your contract reverts back to us, after the season's over, and that sort of thing.
Or even these guys who like run into some off the field trouble or whatever, who kind of get booted from the league, who want to make a second chance, maybe put them in that and let them, rebuild and show, okay, I can stick to football,
Yeah, it's just a great opportunity for guys when it's so cutthroat in the NFL. Like, it's just like, if you don't impress in that first training
you're
camp,
gone forever, sort of.
As an undrafted guy, like you're gone. There's just no other way to get film out, and it might not even be your fault. It could be like, oh, well, I went to the Falcons, for instance. They have 5 receivers that are probably already going to make the roster. I'm one of like 6 UDFA receivers. Like, maybe I can get this 6th spot, or maybe a 7th if they keep 7. But like, if you don't get that 6th spot, it doesn't mean you're not an NFL caliber receiver. It means that there was one spot for 7 guys, all of whom were probably the best receivers on their college teams, and there's just not space. There's just
plus
not
keeping
enough
them
guys.
active. If they didn't make the practice squad, keeping them active, wouldn't that just benefit the teams?
Yeah.
Like instead of them going home and selling insurance until they get another chance or something.
Right. Yeah.
It's like they're still playing football. It may not be at the elite level yet, but
Yeah.
something.
So
like you said, send your practice squad players to those squads so they can continue to get some work and develop. You know, also too, if you think about it, that's a great point you was just bringing up. Some guys, you know, like just like how guys are coming out of high school and they go to college, they might have been playing one position in high school. Now they go to college and grow out of that position. Now they're doing something else. Same thing happens in the NFL. Like I've seen guys, like matter of fact, when I was in San Diego, Chris Dillman, he was a defensive lineman at the University of Indiana. He went from D-line to tight end. And then he went to the NFL and was there as a defensive lineman and kind of played a little bit of tight end, and they just saw something and they wanted to groom him and grow him into an all-pro offensive guard, what he turned into, you know? So there are some guys that still, when they're going to the league, they're still growing and they can move into another spot, you know? Jason Peters for the Eagles, he was a tight end coming out of college.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And those guys, they need a chance to go play and develop, you know, so they can continue to be what they're going to be, you know? Some guys move to different spots.
Yeah, but I mean, we're getting pretty late in the show here, so I'm going to go ahead and shout out everyone to, if you don't already, like and subscribe to those YouTube things, to the show. You can also follow the show on Twitter at Falcoholic Live. Also, if you want to just share this episode with your friends, you can just copy the link on YouTube. It's right at the top of your screen in the bar there. If you copy that and put it in a tweet or a Facebook post or whatever, it'll actually embed the video in that tweet or Facebook post or whatever, and then people can just see it without even having to go to YouTube. So that's a pretty cool feature that's out there. Don't know if you guys were aware of that before. But yeah, we just appreciate all you guys showing up and talking football with us. Before we get out of here, and I see all the questions. There's a ton of questions tonight. We really appreciate that. We'll be back in 2 weeks. We will get to as many as we can and keep reporting on what's going on. But yeah, before we get out of here, I want to thank all the guests and give them a chance to plug their stuff. First of all, Keenan Forney, it's been awesome having you on. You know, obviously you're welcome whenever you want. It's been a lot of fun.
Definitely.
We've really been enjoying
Thank
it.
y'all, man. I have a lot of fun with this, man. I appreciate y'all having me on here and talking some ball, man. I'd love to come back if y'all say so.
Oh yeah, no, open invitation. I'll send you the link on Wednesdays, and you can just if you're available, feel free to show up. So.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And we'll have to talk to Dave about getting you a shirt.
Yeah. We can get you a shirt.
Yeah,
We'll get you a shirt.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can
gotta
swing
represent
that
a little bit, man.
Yeah.
You know this is the shirt I got
ATL
from the
United,
pretty
pretty
Instagram
good.
post.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah. No, we'll get you some swag so you can rep the show here a little bit. But at K4065, I know you've been working out with the players. Anything else you want to plug?
I just want to plug my Twitter account, K4065, my Instagram, F65 Performance, Dash Gwinnett, Dash Performance in Lawrenceville, Georgia, man. To any potential O-linemen who feel like they can get better and want to get better, holler at me. If you feel like you know it all, don't give me a call. Holler at me if you want to get better, if you want to continue to get better. You know, I'm here for you. Holler at me.
Yeah, definitely, guys. Like aspiring offensive lineman. Look, this guy's done it in the NFL. I mean, he's got the experience. I mean, he's crushed it out there, and he's still got it. I mean, he's got several first-round picks coming to him because he knows his stuff. So definitely hit him up and go check that out, because this is a man who you've listened to this show. You already know this man knows what he's talking about. So definitely hit that man up. And again, thank you, Keenan, for coming on. Adnan, I think Adnan had to go, but he is Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way on Twitter, so definitely check him out. He's got stuff coming out on thefalcoholic.com as well, so give him a look and follow on Twitter. Also with us tonight, Eric Robinson at Eric_Robinson on Twitter. Eric, anything that you're working on you want to plug?
Not at the moment, but I do have a scouting breakdown on Darqueze Dennard that's over on the Falcoholic site, so give that a look.
Yeah, definitely check that out, guys, if you want to get a closer look at what we can expect from Dennard this year. Eric does a great job looking into those players, so you guys know what to expect from these guys. Also with us, of course, at the easy to remember at Evan Birchfield. He is Evan Birchfield. Evan, anything you're working on you want to let the people know about?
No, I mean, I do, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Just pretty much stay tuned to Falcoholic.com, because training camp just started. I know people want to see pictures of people hitting each other, but they haven't got that far. They're just kind of out there throwing around the ball and working out and stuff. So just stay tuned. As I said, there's 2 people still on the COVID reserve list, so 2 people have to obviously be released, unfortunately. So there'll be some news coming soon, I'm sure, within the next week or whatever. Also appreciate Mr. Forney coming back on. I know we talked before the show, but as great as Eric and Adnan and Kevin are, none of us have any actual NFL experience like on the field, so it's good to get that player perspective. And training camp, as Kevin mentioned, they stick you off on the side and maybe you get a glimpse of something, but Keenan's been in the locker room, on the practice field, so he can kind of give us that insight. So yeah, I definitely love having him back.
Yeah, it's been.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Hey, and the players, they love to have you guys out at training camp. Trust me, they love to see the fans out there getting excited, man. It's fun, and I know that they're having a tough time dealing with it, just like we're having a tough time not being able to go watch them.
Yeah. This isn't ideal for anyone. Obviously, the team would love to have everybody at training camp. I'm sure that obviously the players would. It's a lot of fun. It's a real shame that we're missing it this year. But I think we're all hopeful that we'll get through this crisis together. We'll get some football here, and then hopefully by next year we'll be able to have fans back at training camp, be able to have people in the stadiums, and we'll be returning to some form of normalcy. So that's definitely fingers crossed from all of us here at the Falcoholic Live. But again, guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. As we get back into the swing of the season here, we're gonna hope beyond hope that the NFL can keep it together and that this season won't be totally blown off the rails by COVID. So wear your masks, social distance, all that good stuff. Do your part to help this season stay on track. I know we will. And before I get out of here, guys, I'm Kevin Knight at Falcoholic Kevin. I've been cranking through these player previews. We're on the depth guys now. So I did backup quarterbacks, did Quadri Olison today, and then I'm doing some of the backup tight ends the next couple days. So check that out. Otherwise, guys, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. We will see you in 2 weeks when we hopefully have some real padded practices and things like that to report on. Hopefully everyone's off that COVID list and back healthy. Until then, for myself, for Adnan, for Eric, for Evan, and for